Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm going to show you today how I do kefir. This here is some kefir that's been sitting since this morning. You can see some of the whey on top when I moved that there. And the kefir grains, and it's curdled. This shows you that the kefir is made. I'm going to show you how I separate it and remove the grains in order to make some fresh kefir for tomorrow. I do this every day, so I will pause this for a minute and okay, I wanted to show you this here is some kefir. This had gone through a second fermenting process. You can see the kefir here, and this down here is actually whey. I had done a second fermenting, and then I put this in my refrigerator. So you can see it's quite thick. And what I do with it is I will shake it up. And the consistency is going to be kind of like a thin yogurt or some leaven. You can see that it's a little thick, and there's a little bit of effervescence here. But it's not too bad. The taste is very smooth and creamy. It's got a very nice, smooth, mild taste to it. So what I'm going to do now with this is I have to strain this, to strain the kefir so I can get the kefir from, remove the grains from the kefir. And you'll see I have a plastic bowl with a plastic strainer. And what I do is I take my kefir and I just dump it into the bowl. Curds, whey, kefir, everything. And then I can actually reuse this jar. So I will reuse this jar. After I remove, you can see the clumps in here right now. You can see some of the kefir grains. Those are the grains. What I do is I take a plastic spoon. You can use a stainless steel. It has to be stainless steel or plastic, but I prefer to use plastic. And I just gently kind of mix, because remember, you seen how it was separated where there was some whey on the bottom. And then I'm going to take this and strain it. So just kind of gently shake it to separate the kefir from the grains so I can make a new batch. So you see these here, this here are the kefir grains. And below here in the bowl is my kefir drink. So what I'll do is, what I usually do is, because there's a little bit more of the, I want to give it one more time, so I'm going to mix it one more, just to try to get any kefir and any of the curds, they'll break up and be a part of the kefir from the curds and the whey that was in here. But gently. And you can see just how creamy it is. It's very creamy. This is really, really great for your gut. Kefir is really, really high in probiotics. So it's very, very healthy for you. I make my kefir with the full-fat whole cow milk. You don't have to worry about being... One of the nice things about kefir is if you are lactose intolerant, you can still drink kefir. that these kefir greens, what happens is they yeah, the milk ferments, and the kefir grains, they actually eat the lactose that's in the milk. So people who are lactose intolerant are actually able to drink kefir, and it's very healthy for them and very healthy for the gut. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the grains from the bowl, and I'm going to put them back into my jar over here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and rinse my jar out. Like I said, though, I don't need to rinse it out. I can rinse it maybe tomorrow, because actually I think today I'll leave the jar like this, because some of this, the fermented milk is like some of the kefir in here, and the fermentation will actually help my kefir to ferment again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my spoon, my plastic spoon, and I'm going to gently, remove my kefir grains. So you can see these here are the kefir grains. And then I'm going to put them into my jar. I think after a few more days I'll have enough to share some kefir green starter with a friend, because every time you make kefir, these grains grow a little bit more. And so now what I'll do is I'm going to, one more time, just like a little bit of the curds here. I'm going to try to get a little bit more now that I took my grains out of here. And I'm going to just one more time go, because I want all the good probiotics that you get in the kefir. There's actually more probiotics in kefir milk than there is in yogurt. So this is another reason that I've decided to really add kefir as a part of my daily diet routine for me and my husband. And of course, when my friends come over, they love having kefir and find it very delicious and actually want to start making it themselves. So now, just one last shake to drain. And you can see that just drained in here. You just really have to be patient with it. And that's good. So now you see here I have my kefir, and it's kind of thick. So I'm going to take my clean jar. I have a clean jar here that I'm going to pour my kefir into. So now I'm taking my kefir and I'm pouring it into my clean jar. You can see how thick it is. And it's going to be very nice. I'll actually probably have this tomorrow or the next day, because I have the one batch from this morning that I did last night and this morning. And kefir, they say, it really depends on the weather. It's like it really needs like a good temperature. It's not too hot and it's not too cold in my kitchen. So it usually only takes about maybe 10 to 12 hours for my kefir to be made. It can take 10 hours to maybe even 18 hours, and some people have even said 24. The longest I did it for was maybe 16 hours one day during Ramadan, and it was actually too thick for me. It was like it made, curds and whey. So it was a little bit harder to separate the kefir grains. So I found for me the perfect time for my kefir is 10 to 12 hours. Then what I'm going to do with this is I take it, and I heard that some people were recommending for you to put like a cheesecloth over here, and just a cheesecloth so the air can get to it. But what I actually do is I just put the lid, I leave room for air, and I put the lid on loose. It's not on, it's just loosely on there. And I find that this is enough to, to keep it. So then what I do is I place it up here on my refrigerator. And this one here, I'm going to let it do a second fermenting. The second fermenting will help to add extra probiotics to the kefir mix. So if you want extra probiotics in your kefir, you can do a second fermenting process. So the second fermenting process, you have removed the kefir grains, and you will let it sit. It'll actually get a little bit thicker, and you'll see maybe it'll separate, and you'll have the whey will be here on the bottom like it was on the glass, on the cup I showed you earlier that I pulled out of the refrigerator. That had gone through a second fermentation, and when I finished it, I put it in the refrigerator to stop it from being able to ferment any further, and just mix it up. So now what I'm going to do is I will go back here. You see here that I have the kefir grains are in the cup. I've probably got about maybe two and a half, 3 tablespoons worth of kefir now in here. And you need about maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons to start your own batch of kefir. So now to start my new process over, I'm going to take full cream milk. I'm using the KDD milk, long life. This here is my KDD milk. It's full cream. And so this one here, I just take it and I pour it in my milk, pour it into the glass here. And now I'm starting my new batch of kefir. You can see here that some of my grains have already floated to the top. And then I'll take my lid, put it on top here, up here, and leave it sit. So after maybe 12 hours, like tomorrow morning, it's like right now it's 11 p.m. So maybe around between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m., probably around 10 a.m., 10 a.m., this will probably be ready for me to actually drain it like you've seen me do and transfer it into this jar. This jar, maybe in about an hour, you can let it do a second fermentation for 1 hour, anywhere from 1 hour to 8 hours. The maximum I did it for, I think, was 4 hours. And then when you want it to stop fermenting, you put it in the refrigerator. So, but I'll probably, because like I said, my kitchen's it's not too hot and it's not too cold in here. It's actually a very comfortable temperature. And so maybe when I go to bed, I will go ahead and stick that in the refrigerator. So I'll have a cold, fresh thing of kefir for myself in the morning. So this is how I do kefir.